everyone, and welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I am Mike Barner. He is Kirien Sprecher, and we come to you every Wednesday to give you the information that you need to win your fantasy basketball leagues. Kirien, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a good All-Star break. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's talk about the All-Star game. We don't have a whole lot of news and notes because we haven't had any games for a while. We have one tonight, so that's not exactly exciting. It's Lakers-Hornets 2, which is not exactly a great matchup. So let's talk about the All-Star game. What did you like about, or the weekend in general? What did you think about the weekend, the Saturday night stuff, the Sunday night changes to the All-Star game? Did you like it? Did you watch? What did you think?
All right, I'll just start with the three-point contest because I feel like that's normally like my bread and butter. I feel like I can at least get some enjoyment out of that. It's a shorter event. It happens really quick. You know, maybe you get to see something awesome with, you know, a Steph Curry, a Dame Lillard, Devin Booker, you know, et cetera, get really hot. And you're like, wow, this is incredible. You know, they're doing it in front of the fans with, you know, the pressure on the line. This is super awesome. Watching the best do what they did. But I didn't even get that in this. Buddy Hield got a little hot. You know, he started off really cold in the championship, but like Buddy Hield getting those hot streaks was like the highlight of the entire weekend for me. You know, look, we added the 4-point shot and an entire rack of money balls. So maybe the number of like points scored after each round isn't necessarily going down, but this is just like was one of the worst performances from everybody in the group in a long time. This is a little foreshadow of the what was that stat line of the week later. We'll get more into it, but even the 3-point contest wasn't great to me. And normally that's what like I rely on, just tuning in for 20 minutes and like, wow, that was entertaining. And then the All-Star game, catch some highlights, and then the dunk contest. I normally just tune into the championship, especially recently with the way that's been trending.
So I'll full disclosure. Now I'm your guy watching Hornets Wizards on a Tuesday night. Okay. I watched part of the 3-point contest. I watched all of the dunk contest. I didn't watch the Rising Stars. I didn't watch the skills competitions. I didn't watch any of that.
Skills.
And I watched part of the All-Star game itself. Wasn't excited. Nothing got me going. I wasn't pumped about anything. The 3-point contest, like you said, I was pulling hard for Norman Powell.
Yeah.
I wanted our guy Norman Powell to do good, and he stunk. So that was a bit
he jumps too high. And that's sort of the higher you jump, the more tired you get.
He needs a hand in his face. He needs some defense. Yes. They needed to run somebody at him, and then Norm would have won that thing. So I wasn't. Then the dunk contest, Mac McClung was awesome. I mean, that was the cool thing about him was he didn't need 1,000 tries to make the dunks too. Like the one where he dunked the 2 basketballs, he did it on the first try, which was really cool. When these guys are going, I mean, Buzelis, he needed 80 tries and he still couldn't do it. I mean, can we twist the knives in the back of Bulls fans anymore? We finally get something. We have no All-Stars because they stink. The Bulls stink. No All-Star. So we got Buzelis in the dunk contest, and he can't even make his dunk in the first round. Jeez, but I think there's a way. We got to fix the dunk contest, Kirien. And here's my suggestion. You tell me what you think. Mac McClung is not an NBA player, okay? He's great at dunks. He's not an NBA player. So let's lean into that. We got 4 participants in the dunk contest. We're going to do 1 NBA guy. We're going to do 1 G League guy. We're going to do 1 college player. And then we're going to do 1 any guy off the street because there's a lot of cool like professional dunkers out there that do stuff. Let's do 1 of each of those. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think, it'll be maybe the NBA players will be like, I want that 1 NBA spot in there. And then we get maybe more of aggression from the NBA players. But you're 100% right. Like at this point, I'd rather watch one of these YouTube guys do dunks because like that's what they practice and train to do. These NBA guys, they play an entire NBA season and then they're like, okay, I got 2 or 3 days to get ready for the dunk contest. Like, and creativity and all of that and playing the crowd into it, that's all part of it. And McClung does that really, really well. He's also really insanely talented and athletic and can make awesome dunks. But the pageantry of it is really like, what the Vince Carters and the Michael Jordans and like even Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, like the pageantry of it was what makes it special. And McClung does that super well. I obviously think like the contest has just plateaued in general. Like there's only so many dunks that humans are capable of doing, right? And I won't shy away from saying LeBron killed it, right? Like he set the precedent that superstars don't need to do the dunk contest. And no offense to Mac McClung, no offense to these other guys, but I wanted to watch Zion. I wanted to watch Ja Morant. And like obviously they're getting past like the young stages of their careers and they might never do it. But those guys should have been doing it in their second and third year. Like that's what this contest is supposed to be about. Now it's an ego thing. Superstars don't want to do it. They don't want to get embarrassed. They don't want to put the time into doing it. Like it takes some time to come up with these dunks and make a plan and perform on the top level. And then you got, McClung, like I said, like he has the time to practice for this and he puts on a show like a good performer does, right? Like that's what he loves to do. So I'm not taking anything away from him. He's earned all his 3 ships, but it's a watered down event right now. This Stephon Castle, like I thought he had some really good dunks and they were really impressive, but going back to the pageantry of it, he almost was too nonchalant about it. Like it was almost, he made it look too easy that the crowd was like, oh, that was good, like a golf clap, good, nice dunk, Stephon. And then McClung's like, bring out the car, let me get another person in here. So I think McClung deserves it, and the pageantry of it, he does it really well. But we got to change something, and I like your idea. Throw a YouTube guy in there. Throw some of these guys that have more time and are going to take this contest seriously.
What did you think about the new format for the All-Star game itself with the 4 teams and the Rising Stars winners being in there? Did you like it?
I watched the Rising Stars game. I thought like that was fun. Or like the 2 games, like I thought that was fun. I liked seeing the young guys see who like kind of feels like they're the alpha dog, with the crowd. And Stephon Castle felt like he was that guy. The actual All-Star game, it's so broken. And I can't blame LeBron here. I'm gonna blame the Lukas and the Jokic's of the world, right? Like they're kind of the faces of the NBA right now. Jokic, multiple-time MVP. Luka in this huge trade. Like when you think of NBA, a lot of fans probably still think Steph and LeBron, right? But they're getting towards the ends of their career. So Jokic and Doncic are this new era, and they don't take it seriously enough. So that changes needed to be made, and now I like the chasing points thing. I think that works because at the end it always gets a little more competitive, right? But the game itself is broken, and there was just insane amount of commercials. I don't think you need to be an expert to be like, we want to see LeBron and Steph on the court more. Obviously LeBron didn't play. We want to see Steph. We want to see these guys on the court way more often than we want to see Mr. Beast and all of these nonsense commercials.
Well, that's a good segue. Let's talk about LeBron James. He, on Sunday afternoon, said he was not going to play in the All-Star game because of discomfort in his foot and ankle. Now, he waited so long to say that there wasn't a replacement. I did see someone on a fake account on Twitter tweet out that Bronny James was going to replace LeBron James in the game. Caught me for a second. I got real mad for a second, and then I realized it was a fake account. But that was a pretty funny joke there. But the thing here, now he did go through parts of practice yesterday. The Lakers play today against the Hornets and tomorrow against the Trailblazers. So he already set out the All-Star game, back-to-back set here. Wouldn't be surprised if he misses at least one of these games, maybe both. What do you think, Kirien?
I would be surprised. I think like the sitting out the All-Star game was just like a precautionary thing. But if it is something that popped up over the All-Star break, like that's something serious, and then maybe he's going to miss games. I don't think it was. If it was like he sprained his ankle during a practice or a warm-up session or something, I don't think he would have been like at all of the All-Star festivities, like still doing that. So I think LeBron's going to be fine. I expect him to continue to play here during the stretch run. I'm probably going to say during the second half a lot. That's not what I mean. This isn't the second half of the season coming up. This is literally like the sprint to the finish line. There's 25, 30 games left for a lot of teams, which is way less than half of the season.
Well, in that same game for the Hornets and Lakers tonight, we have some good news on the Hornets side of things. LaMelo Ball and Mark Williams are listed as probable. Now, Ball had 9 days to recover from his most recent ankle injury, so it looks like that's all he needed. Williams has not played since that trade with the Lakers fell through. I think Ball's probably not going to play both games of a back-to-back set for the rest of the season, especially with his past ankle injuries. There's probably going to be plenty of rest days. I mean, who knows what's going to happen here with Mark Williams. It's encouraging that he's going to play, I guess, in this game. Downgrade for Moussa Diabate, at least for the short term. What do you think we're going to see out of LaMelo Ball and Mark Williams, not only tonight, but in the immediate future?
Yeah, I mean, starting with LaMelo, you nailed it. Definitely probably not going to play in both halves of this back-to-back set. He's actually only played in 7 straight games. That's the longest stretch of games he's played since the end of November. So, maybe we could get a couple of games out of him here. it's been the same story. When he plays, he's fantasy gold. You can't count on him to play. The Mark Williams story is a little more intriguing because that messes with Diabate, that messes with Nurkic. We'll see how this three-headed monster, I feel very awkward saying that for a Nurkic, Mark Williams, Diabate, three-man center thing. But there's production to be had here, and it'll be interesting to see if any of one of these three guys can, put themselves at the top. If not, it's just going to be three guys splitting 20 minutes, and that's just not going to be enough for fantasy.
If you can get LaMelo Ball and or Mark Williams to play in 3 or 4 straight games, that's your sell high, guys. I mean, I don't know what else to say. That's your sell high, because as the calendar turns to March and we get towards the end of March and certainly April, I don't know how much of those two we're going to see down the stretch. LaMelo Ball's ankles, they're like vanilla wafers or something. Like he's so brittle. He's like a pizzelle for everybody. Those really thin pastries there. I mean, one wrong step and he's out for another week or 2 weeks, and then he could be shut down completely. So be very careful with those guys. And then our last bit of news and notes here, because again, we haven't had any games. Magic head coach Jamal Mosley said Tuesday that Jalen Suggs was able to run at practice. Great. However, he still hasn't resumed contact drills. Now, he's played one game since January 3rd. The Magic have really struggled without him. When he does come back, he's probably going to be on a minutes restriction for at least a few games. I don't know if I'm overly encouraged about this he's running again report for Jalen Suggs. How about you, Kirien?
Yeah, I don't think that necessarily means that he's going to be at 100% in the next couple of days, but I do think it's a good step in the right direction. He had that weird non-contact back injury where he kind of just stretched weird and then was down and had to be wheelchaired off the floor. And then he came back, and in his first game back, he got this quad contusion, which he's been out for. A quad contusion, that can be – it's just a bruise, right? Obviously, it can be a really bad bruise, and it impact your ability to even walk at this point. So I feel like now that he's running, it's just going to be a matter of getting his conditioning back before the contact part starts. He'll have a couple contact practices. So I would say you nailed it. He'll probably play within a week, and then, or play after a week, and then he'll probably take a couple of games to get back to 30 plus minutes per game. But the Magic need him. They struggled very badly, and that even was with Franz and Powell coming back. So Suggs has kind of been the stir that, the straw that stirs the drink.
There you go. You got it.
Yeah, we nailed it. So I think that they're probably going to rush him back. And Suggs, if you ever followed his college career, he was a football player in high school, and he has that toughness edge to him. So I think he'll come back as soon as he can.
All right, so we're going to talk about some guys that we want to have on our rosters for the stretch run here. But before we do that, a word from our friends at Edge Boost. Have you ever had your debit card decline or had to call your bank at 3 a.m. in Vegas? Edge Boost is the first consumer-facing online bank dedicated to the gaming industry. There are numerous benefits to using Edge Boost. $250,000 per day in debit deposits, unlimited withdrawals, cash back on sports betting, DFS, and sweeps, 100% approval for all gaming activity, financial segmentation for discretion and responsible gaming, compatible today for prediction markets, iCasino, DFS, sports betting, lottery, brick and mortar casinos, horse racing, and sweeps. No transaction reviews or account freezes. Visit edgeboost.bet today and use the promo code ROTOPOD. That's promo code ROTOPOD. Okay, now we're going to talk about some players that we want to have on our rosters for the stretch run here. Kirien, you go first. Who is the first player that you want on your rosters down the stretch?
All right, I'm going to roll with the flamethrowing star that's producing like a superstar recently. That's Trey Murphy. Over the last 2 weeks, Murphy has been the 7th best player in 8 category leagues. I will put a caveat on all of my lists. I'm focusing solely on category leagues. I'm sorry for those of you in points leagues. You can ask your questions in the chat. I play in a lot of category leagues, so that's where most of my research goes. So Murphy has been not the 7th round value, 7th best player in 8 category leagues. Since missing 3 games in mid-January, Murphy has averaged 25 points, 6 boards, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 3.5 threes per game. During that 16-game stretch, Murphy has posted 49, 39, 87 shooting splits. These are elite numbers, guys. The Pelicans are at the bottom of the standings and will likely tank. I'm expecting McCollum and Zion to take the brunt of that tank, while Murphy may get a chance to put a stamp on his career high campaign during the stretch run. I say this because Murphy has made 39 appearances. In order to qualify for the Most Improved Player award, in order to qualify for third-team All-NBA, he needs to play in 65 games. Pelicans have 27 games left. That means he can only miss one more game before he's ineligible for. When he misses 2 games, he'll be ineligible for that award. I think he is, on the cusp of being, a candidate for these awards. So I think he'll get a chance to play in as many games as he can during the stretch run. And maybe at the end, if he's not, a candidate anymore, he'll rest. But at least for the fantasy playoffs, I expect Trey Murphy to be available and to continue this just ridiculously elite production that he's put up over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I love that call there. The biggest risk on that roster for sitting is Zion. Yeah. And Zion sitting helps Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy is a young guy that the Pelicans hope to build around. That's a great call, and he's definitely someone that I would certainly want down the stretch too. All right, for me, my first guy, nobody wanted him a little while ago, Jimmy Butler. He looks rejuvenated on the Warriors. He's hustling. He's playing good defense. Now, 4 games since the trade to the Warriors, he's averaged 21.3 points, 7 rebounds, 5.3 assists, and 1.3 steals. Now, we know Jimmy Butler always misses time, whether he's doesn't want to play through a nagging injury or he's just preparing himself for the playoffs. Well, guess what? He's only played 29 games this season. So he's already missed a whole bunch of games. He's already had plenty of rest. The Warriors need to win every game. They are fighting just to get into the playoffs. So I don't think there's going to be any rest situations for Jimmy Butler down the stretch. We talked a couple weeks ago. We were talking about guys to think about selling high on or holding or buying. Butler was a guy that we said to hold. If you held him and you didn't sell him at a discount, now is the time you're going to get the rewards, because I think Jimmy Butler is in line for a great finish to the season.
Yeah, I got no complaints about that one. I was on the SiriusXM radio show right after the trade happened, and I was like, "Look, this is a huge risk. Like, you could get the drama, the melodrama, Jimmy Butler who doesn't want to do anything, or you could get Himmy Butler, right? It all depends, and it seems that they're getting the former there. And when he's playing like that, he can lead a team himself. And then you add Steph Curry and Draymond and this young core that the Warriors have, and maybe Kuminga comes back. But I don't really see that impacting Butler's production at all. But Butler should be the guy we expected him to be at the beginning of the season for this stretch run for sure. Next up, I'm going to Amen Thompson. I've talked about him a lot already. He's the all-around producer with elite defensive skills, right? So if you're in a category league and you like defense, he's going to win you these categories and carry you to a championship. Over the last 2 weeks, Thompson is the 13th player in 8 category leagues. So like a top 15 player right now. A lot of this had to do with the injury to Jabari Smith, right? That allowed Thompson to slide into the starting lineup and thrive across 25 starts this season. Thompson has averaged 16 points, 10 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks while shooting 54% from the field. Smith is expected to come back, but I don't believe that there's any way Ime Udoka can bench Thompson at this point. Like, yeah, maybe his minutes decrease slightly, but he is a clear alpha dog on this team. Maybe that means fewer minutes for Fred VanVleet, who's also dealing with an injury. Maybe it means fewer minutes for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, whatever it is. Thompson has deserved his, and he's going to get it for the stretch run. Like, again, this isn't like, oh, he's cracking the top 50 and he's a solid player. Like, Amen Thompson is performing like a number 1 overall pick in fantasy. He's outperforming Jason Tatum in the last month. Like, this isn't a fluke. This is happening. Amen Thompson's here for real, and he's here for the long run.
Yeah, I feel like the Rockets at this point, you got to figure maybe they use Jabari Smith Jr. as their top trade chip in the offseason to bring in something. I agree with it. There's no way that Thompson's going to – maybe he'll lose a couple minutes a game, but he's not going to lose like 10 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Just because Smith and VanVleet come back.
I think the big thing here is that, like, they're still going to have him play as a playmaker in my opinion. Like, there's been no reports of this happening. There's also been no reports of him losing minutes, but like, he's still going to have the opportunity to get 5 assists per game. He's still going to have the opportunity to get 10 rebounds per game. Even if he plays slightly fewer minutes, when he's on the court, they're still going to ask him to do the same things, which is what the only thing he doesn't excel at is shooting threes. Everything else, he's plus.
All right, I'm going with DeMar DeRozan. He is averaging 24.4 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 4.9 assists over the 7 games since De'Aaron Fox was traded. He averaged at least 4.3 rebounds and 4.9 assists in all 3 of his seasons with the Bulls. Well, guess what? This is kind of the Bulls minute. We banned it last week because of their embarrassing performance against the Pistons. We'll kind of use this as the Bulls minute. The Kings are now the Bulls West, okay? They've got DeRozan. They've got Levine. They've got Malik Monk, who is their version of Kobe White. Now, Sabonis is an upgrade over Vucevic, obviously, but that's what you've got there for your Chicago West. They don't have a true point guard. DeRozan is a good passer, so I think we're going to see an increase in his assists down the stretch. And another reason why I like DeRozan and why I want to make sure I have him on as many teams as I possibly can, he has played at least 74 games in each of the last 3 seasons. He does not sit. He does not like to sit. And the Kings need to win every game to get into the playoffs. So I think we're going to see not only increased scoring, because now there isn't De'Aaron Fox, who's the clear-cut, franchise player on the Kings, but I also think we're going to see increased assists for DeRozan. He's been a bit of a disappointment this season, not a flop by any means. His numbers have been slightly down across the board. I think that changes here over the stretch run.
I love it. I will be completely honest. Like, I didn't like his value after the initial De'Aaron Fox trade. I was just like, I think the Kings are going to trend in the wrong direction. But he's kind of surprised me, and I'm changing my tune. And like you said, the Bulls West, DeRozan was playing his best basketball when they had this similar of a lineup. So I think, Sabonis setting those screens, creating some space in the mid-range for DeRozan to do his thing. He's been thriving, and I really like that play. And like you said, he plays in a bunch of games, and that's going to be clutch towards the stretch run. So my final guy, Cade Cunningham, he's been one of my favorite players since Oklahoma State, right? Like a big guard is like who can shoot is like makes me go crazy, especially for fantasy. Like these are the types of guys we want. Over the last 2 weeks, Cunningham trails only Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, and SGA in 8 category leagues. That's a multiple-time MVP, a perennial MVP candidate, and an MVP candidate for the last 3 years. And then you have Cade Cunningham. Cunningham has always put up strong stats in the NBA, but the knock was he wasn't very efficient. He committed too many turnovers. He's on losing teams. Well, he's committing more turnovers than ever, but he's been more efficient from the field and is averaging career highs across the board while leading the Pistons into playoff contention. So it shows what we know. Cunningham has never played more than 64 games in a season. He's at 50 appearances right now with 27 games left to go. He should easily clear this threshold, and the Pistons are going to need him to continue his elite production in order for them to snap their playoff drought. So I think Cade Cunningham is all systems go. Look, like he's probably not going to finish this next month as a top 4 player, but just being in that category right now makes me feel very confident with the teams that I have him on and their chances at winning a fantasy championship.
Yeah, the stars have really aligned perfectly for Cunningham this season. 1, the Pistons are competitive, so there's not going to be any resting potential situations down the stretch. 2, they added shooting, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., so teams can't pack things in or and put so much focus on Cunningham. Because, I mean, Beasley, if you leave him open, he's going to hit an easy 5 3-pointers in a game. Easy.
Yeah, I think that's
been a great addition.
Yeah, absolutely. And they added some other shooters too. So it's not like Tobias Harris is like everybody made fun of him in Philly, right? But he's just Mr. Consistent. He's just a nice guy. He's just a chill guy. Spaces the floor, does his job. So I think you're absolutely correct. It's been a perfect flurry for Cade to flourish, and he's taken the opportunity in stride.
Tobias Harris, he might be better than Pinky P, Paul George. I mean, Pinky P, he's scoring 2 points here.
Someone's got to do a podium of Norman Powell, Tobias Harris, Pinky P.
Oh, yeah. So if you rank those 3 right now, Norman Powell, number 1.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tobias Harris is making a push to go over Paul George here. But, yeah. So my last guy, we're going to find him on the waiver wire, but probably not for much longer. Donovan Clingan is still available in 62% of Yahoo leagues. I don't understand why. He shouldn't be. Unless you're in like a 6-team league, or even in those, you've got to add Clingan. DeAndre Ayton, since our last show, we talked about he had just suffered the calf injury last week. And when Kirien and I were talking to you on Wednesday, there was no timeline for him. They had just said that he was going to miss that day's game. Well, shortly after our podcast, it came out and said he's going to be reevaluated in 4 weeks. 4 weeks is a lot of time, and we hate the reevaluation timeline. So we're not going to see Ayton until at least the middle of March. By then, the Trailblazers could be way down the standings. He has any sort of a setback, or they're 15 games, 10 games out of a play-in spot, he might not come back. Now, in that first game that he missed, Clingan started 19 points, 20 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks in 31 minutes against the Nuggets. That is insane. Now, he's not going to be able to replicate that on a regular basis. However, the only other game that he played at least 30 minutes this season, he had 17 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 blocks. Okay? He's played 2 games this season, at least 30 minutes. He dominated in both of them. We're going to see Robert Williams is going to sit one half of back-to-back sets. He's really the only competition for Clingan for minutes right now. He is a must-add. He's 62% available in Yahoo leagues. When Kirien and I are talking to you again next Wednesday, he better be rostered in more than half of Yahoo leagues. He has to be. Get Donovan Clingan now.
Yep, and the only caveats I would have are those 2 performances you said are the only games he's played over 27 minutes this season. But that should change, right? Because now there's so many minutes available, so that should change. And then the other thing is he's a young guy, so there's probably going to be some games where he gets into foul trouble really early, and that limits his ability to put up these stats. But when he's on the court, these per-minute production, it's incredible. He's played 21 – he's played more than 21 minutes 10 times, or at least 21 minutes 10 times. And during those games, 10 points, 12 boards, 3 blocks, and a steal. So he doesn't even need 30 minutes. He just needs like 25, and he's like one of the best centers in the league.
He's going to be nightly double-double and average 3 blocks.
Yes, and that's exactly what you need. So, yeah, I would be taking him over a lot of centers. And you mentioned Ayton. I have Ayton in one league, and I have a lot of injuries, and my R spot is taken up. I had to drop him because, like you said, I don't really think he's going to be back, and I'm right on the cusp of playoffs. So I need to make a push. But he was droppable for me. Even if I make it that far and I'm still in contention and he comes back, he's probably not going to play back-to-backs. He's probably not going to do those sort of things. So I would be shocked if Ayton played another game this season for sure.
We're probably going to have time here for a few questions, but before we take them, let's hear a word from our good friends at Pool Genius. Want to win more in your golf, March Madness, and football pools? Pool Genius gives you data-driven picks and strategies to outsmart the competition. With over a decade of analytics and historical data, Pool Genius is the only site dedicated exclusively to helping people win sports pools. With Pool Genius, users winning 3 times more than often than expected. RotoWire listeners get exclusive offers. Visit poolgenius.com/RotoWire for up to 55% off or start a 4-day free trial. That's poolgenius.com/RotoWire. Okay, now, Kirien, it's almost time for the best segment of the week that everybody looks forward to. So you can call, we're past Valentine's Day, so you already got your Valentine's Day treats. But maybe you want to call your Valentine in the room for one last surprise before that happens. But before we do that, Kirien, let's answer some questions from the chat.
All right, let's get to it. All right, we're looking for a kleptomaniac waiter, dishes and steals, AirPods or Grand Theft Alvarado rest of the season, specifically wondering if Alvarado's recent assists are likely sustainable during fantasy playoffs. Yes, I want to say Alvarado's assists will be sustainable. That's DeJounte Murray's out. He's starting. CJ McCollum might sit a lot of games. Zion might sit a lot of games. Alvarado should be a playmaker. And I'd probably take Alvarado because he is more likely to stick in the starting lineup. I know Steve Kerr recently said Podziemski was going to likely remain in the starting lineup for the stretch run, but the Warriors have changed their starting lineup so many times that stick in the starting lineup probably means like a week for Steve Kerr. I think Alvarado is the safest one here. Do you think so too, Mike?
You said that perfectly. I can't trust Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
He changes his rotations up so often. So Podziemski probably has the higher upside, but I don't trust him to play this much for the rest of the season. So I would rather go with Alvarado.
Agreed. All right. P-Dub. Good morning, guys. 10 team, 9 cat. Who should I drop to add Quentin Grimes, Nick Smith, Najee Marshall, Spencer Dinwiddie? I'm probably going Dinwiddie here. Nick Smith, who knows what LaMelo is doing? Brandon Miller's already out. They got so many injuries. I like Nick Smith. I think Najee Marshall has a higher upside in a category league. What about you?
Yeah, I would also get rid of the guy that I would want to keep the most out of this group is probably Smith. Marshall right now, simply because the Mavericks don't have enough size.
Yeah.
But there's a clear path for him to play more than Dinwiddie. So Dinwiddie would be the guy I would drop to.
Agreed. Which side of this trade wins, Kenny wonders? Reeves or Barrett? Reeves or Barrett plus Pirtle. Okay, so Reeves and Barrett. Reeves or Barrett and Pirtle.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Sorry. That I'm not good at math, and that was too much, almost math for me. So yeah, I think Raptors tank risk could be real, but look, they just signed or traded for Brandon Ingram and extended him. Like, I feel like they're going to want to see this group play together at some point to reassess during the offseason. And then you got on the other side, Reeves, like maybe Luka and LeBron take up so much thing. So I want to say Barrett and Pirtle here, but again, if you follow the show, I almost always take the two when it's a 2-for-1. What about you, Mike?
I would much rather have the risk of Barrett and Pirtle than just Reeves, because I think Reeves is going to see a dip in production once Luka's minutes restrictions are lifted. So I would much rather take the potential upside with the two Raptors players.
They're all we can agree that they're all risky, but Barrett and Pirtle, you get a higher upside. Do you think Rob Williams will be worth having? We've talked about this a lot. Clingan's our guy here. I don't think we need to spend too much time on that one. Should I move off Miles Bridges, maybe get a trade going? Just got a bad feeling Hornets are taking. Yeah, probably. But again, Miles Bridges has been one of their only healthier players. It's kind of that's kind of a 50-50. If you can make a trade, like, do so. I think we talked about this on the last show too, though. But like the way Bridges is producing right now, like, you're not going to get a good return for him. And you just kind of have to bite the bullet and hope he doesn't tank.
I'd keep him. I think you might see a lot of lineups of Miles Bridges, Elfrid Payton, Moussa Diabate, like all, bottom of the league players around him while they sit LaMelo and Mark Williams. So I think Bridges, he's not going to impact their winning. They're not winning right now. So I think he'll play.
The classic, not a winning player, but a winning fantasy player.
That's right.
All right, Clingan or Draymond? We're big Clingan guys. Are we going as high as Draymond?
Yep, no hesitation. Clingan all the way.
I agree. No need to get too much into it. We just said, should I drop Buddy Hield, Duncan Robinson, or Max Strus? I need to make room for Klay Thompson and Michael Porter Jr. Okay. I would probably say Buddy and Duncan. Strus is in the starting lineup now, and he's finally kind of hitting his stride. And we know that once he's hitting his stride, he can be pretty solid. Hield has been in and out of the starting lineup, but Podziemski is theoretically taking his spot. So I think Hield and Robinson's the easy go-to here for me. What about you, Mike?
I don't feel bad dropping any of these three guys, but the two I would pick, I agree with you, would be Hield and Robinson.
That's a good point. All right, DJ Benton says, been debating between Keontae George versus Emmanuel Quigley for about a month on who I want the rest of the season. 10-team head-to-head points league. I feel very bad, DJ, because this sounds like you took my preseason advice. Because I was very high on both of these guys, and now you're stuck in a conundrum, and I apologize for that. I'm taking Quigley. I just said I think the Raptors are going to want to see this group play together, and I think Quigley has the higher upside.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, it helped. Keontae George helps a little bit here that this is a points league, so you don't have to worry about his lack of efficiency. But I think Quigley has the higher upside, and I don't think he's going to be rested all that much. Whether he can stay healthy or not is another story.
He spent enough time resting already this season.
That's right. They've built up enough losses. He's rested enough.
All right, we got a new one just because it's a Clingan or Alex Sarr. Are you going that high?
Clingan all the way.
All right, Clingan or a Kongwu. I feel like it's pretty obvious that we still want Clingan. All right, Daniel put a bunch of questions in, so we're gonna give him. Let's give him.
Let's do two of them. Let's do
All
two of them, Kirien. Then we'll move on to everybody's
right.
favorite segment.
So we kind of touched on this earlier. Will Mark Williams reign on our Diabate parade? Would you drop Diabate for any of Carlo Matkovic, Goga, Keyshawn George, or Alvarado? I think I want Diabate to be the best center in Charlotte so bad because I think he has the best energy and, he's probably going to be the best for the Hornets. But like we just said with Miles Bridges, their goal isn't to win. So that maybe that means they're going to play Nurkic and Mark Williams. I really want to say hold on to Diabate, but it's probably a silly move just because he's not really a super high upside player. And the risk of him, playing 18 minutes for the next month is very there. I would probably take Alvarado in that group, maybe Goga. Actually, I'd probably take Goga and then Alvarado. What about you, Mike?
If you need a big man, I don't mind keeping Diabate, but I agree. I would rather have Alvarado if we're taking positions aside and just looking at the players themselves. Alvarado would be the one from this group that I would want.
Yeah, and it's a category league, assist to turnover ratio instead of just turnovers. Goga's blocks, like he hasn't really been beginning of the season, he was a stud in fantasy. Right now, he's kind of been limited to his blocks, and we'll see with Jalen Suggs coming back what their lineup looks like. Goga's been starting but not playing a lot of minutes. That's a good question.
One more, Kirien.
All right. Well, last one. Will Missy and Clowney be strong plays for silly season? What's their long-term outlook for keepers? I think Missy has very high upside as a keeper. Top 50 in category leagues potentially in the next couple of seasons. And for silly season, yeah, I don't think like the Pelicans are going to rest guys, but they're going to want their rookie center to play as much as possible. Noah Clowney has been an interesting case. I've talked a lot about how I don't like to look at the Nets, and because I could make a new guess every hour, right? Like I could look back at this in 2 hours and be like, actually, I think I like Keon Johnson a lot on the Nets. I think Clowney's going to miss some time, so I think Missy is the probably the stronger play. Clowney, maybe in a couple of weeks, you can get him at an even cheaper discount.
Yeah, long-term Missy for me for sure. And also this season, I prefer Missy too. So thank you everyone for the questions. We really appreciate everybody being so involved in the chat. But now it's time for the What Was That stat lines of the week. Kirien, you are up first.
All right. I kind of foreshadowed it at the beginning of the show. The 3-point contest is like my favorite thing of All-Star Weekend. I was very excited for it this year. Thought Dame was going to three-peat. He did not look great. He even was caught yawning on the bench during the first round while everyone was going. And that's exactly what I was doing too. So I don't blame you, Dame. Look, Hero went 24 for 40 in the championship round. Good for 60%. That's pretty good if you're a non-NBA player, but there's no one guarding you. We gotta get this better. 60% was the lowest winning round percentage since Kevin Love in 2011-2012. Only 4 players 5 times has there been a lower winning round percentage than that. Jeff Hornacek did it twice with a 53% and a 43%. That was sandwiched around the 19 or the one of the lockouts, like the 1999 lockout. Chris Hodges shot 53% in the early 90s, and Larry Bird, when he was winning his second, he shot 53% in the final frame. So this has been going on for 40 years, and this was one of the 5 lowest winning round percentages of all time. Tyler Hero, I love you. You're a Wisconsin guy, but what was that? You win it. I get it. You won it. You're better than everyone else, but this isn't the year you wanted to win it because it just wasn't a good performance. My heyday, man, looking back on it, Devin Booker, 28 for 34. Jason Campano, 25 for 30. Those are the only 2 players to ever shoot over 80% in a final frame. Clay and Steph both got 79%. They were 27 for 34. But those 4 guys I just rattled off made multiple more three-pointers than Tyler Hero did, with 6 less attempts or in some cases 10. Capono had 10 less attempts, and he still made 1 more than Hero. This was a very, very bad 3-point contest. Tyler Hero, what was that, man?
Another win for the NBA All-Star Weekend, another one. Now, I'm going to go with, it's been a while because there haven't been a lot of games, but exactly 1 week ago, Karis LeVert had 20 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 3-pointers over 35 minutes against the Nets. What was that? A near triple-double from Caris LeVert. We like to see that. Now, the game prior to that, he had 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 3-pointers over 32 minutes against the Magic. He's coming off the bench, but the playing time is encouraging. DeAndre Hunter is gone. Bogdan Bogdanovic is gone. Krejci and Larry Nance Jr., they're both going to be out for at least the next 3 weeks, maybe longer. We have a clear path for Caris LeVert to play a lot of minutes on a Hawks team that plays at one of the fastest paces in the league. Caris LeVert is available in 72% of Yahoo leagues. He's a guy I love adding. Caris LeVert, a near triple-double 1 week ago against the Knicks. What was that? It was great, and it might be a little precursor to some great fantasy value down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree there. Before we head out, I'm just going to do a service to the viewers. Joseph Kim was upset that we took 2 questions from Daniel. Joseph, I just go in order down the list. Daniel asked before you. I'm sorry about that. I'll answer your question quickly. If Pods remains the starter, how do you rank these guys? Look, you're talking to 2 Chicago Bulls fans, man. We're going AO. AO at the top for sure. And then I would probably go Toumani Camara. Denny Avdija's kind of slipped a little bit. I'd probably put Pods in between AO and Kamara, but that is with the understanding that Pods remains a starter and plays 30-plus minutes. There is a huge – I think Pods is probably the most risky guy on this list, even if the Trailblazers tank at the end of the season.
See that, Joseph? We got you, buddy. Don't worry. Thanks for watching the show.
Podcast for the people.
That's right. Thank you, everyone, for turning in to today's RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Kieran and I will be back with you again next Wednesday to give you all the information that you need to win your fantasy basketball leagues. Until then, may your fantasy basketball team stay healthy and may you bring home some W's.
Good luck, everybody. Have a good